Hello there and welcome to my early game build order guide for Diplomacy is Not an Option. In this video I'm going to guide you through everything you need to know to get yourself safe and easy through the first one or two attack waves. So I'm playing this here on the I don't know how the map is called. It is one of the most difficult ones. You start out with a relatively low amount of population and fighters. Map is full of enemies. It's a three skull map. I'll take it as a proof of concept to show you that these things work here. So the very first thing that I do here is I dismiss my swordsmen. Swordsmen are really not that necessary early on. What we do need early on are lumber mills, a lot of them. Therefore, we're going to spread our lumber mills around town, namely 3 of them. This leaves 3 workers open. One of these, or 2 of these, will go into a builder's hut, and I'll leave the last worker open for later. Your next goal is now to go around town and find out where you can find resources for yourself and where you can find stone. For example, here we have 2 iron deposits, which is really cool, but not what we need right now. Stone is a resource that we want to claim at day 3. At day 2. Therefore, this is one of the very first things that you want to scout around town. Depending on the difficulty level, you will run now sooner or later into enemies. 3 archers are, in all honesty, all it takes with some patience to take down enemies, but it still pays off to avoid enemies where larger amounts of enemies where you can, especially where it doesn't really pay off. Here we have already a stone deposit, so this is a direction that's worth clearing towards to. This direction here, the stone deposit is far off, and I'm not really too eager to get into a fight with these guys. But here, that's very much a goal. So your early game aggression wants to aim towards 2 things. For one, to find stone and iron. For another thing, to secure your lumberjacks. Your lumberjacks will always go deeper and deeper into the forest, so one of your very first jobs is to secure that. I always like to build from my first 80 lumber, then, after all these things are set up, my first barracks. You could go into a different order of things. I just go for the barracks because I want to have that available on the next day. So I have, under all circumstances at the dawn of the new day, the ability ready to train new troops. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that remaining worker here can be transformed into an archer. I don't go for food production at day 1 at all because it ain't necessary. You only consume 14 pieces of food per day, and you start out with 50 pieces of food in your storage. There is no necessity to spend any of your workers' first day on either food production or grave digging. Grave digging should a grave digger should only be used if necessary. That's really what it is. So we have now these things together. Your next goal then is to clamp down as many houses as you can during day 1. Every house that you manage to build is going to give you more population. The only thing that is competing with houses are storages, because storages can shorten the carrying time for your lumber mills quite substantially. In this case, though, not so much, as all of our lumber mills are standing just in the vicinity of the castle, so we don't need to build any storages. But if your starting position would be bad in that regard, I'd strongly recommend to spend some of your early game wood for that. But apart from that, the more houses, the better, because you don't need to pay for their food up front. That you only need to pay for their food the day after they've moved in. So that means we can pump up our population number as high as we want to. As long as we build enough food producers the next day, we're well off. That's why you can't really build too many homes day 1. That's really not just not possible. Technically, you could also delay the building of the barracks and build a few more houses. That depends on your playstyle. I really don't know what's here objectively the better decision. Now, day 2 dawns, and with that, we have here 15 workers. That's a pretty decent number. Everything in the double digits. Good, by the way. So, Step one, we're building ourselves a stone mine, as the stone mine is very, very much needed here. So that crosses out 4 of our workers. We are also going to set up ourselves 2 more lumber mills because we just need that much wood and then some. This also brings up the necessity to guard our town a little bit more, but more about that in a hot minute. We also have now a food consumption going that we need to take care of. You can now either go for berry pickers or fishermen. Each of these buildings roughly can produce up to 40 pieces of food a day. I say can produce roughly because we are never living in a ideal world with ideal circumstances. Therefore, I personally see that each one of these buildings probably produces under ideal circumstances 30 food a day. So one food producer should be enough for the current situation, but you never go wrong with having a few more food producers than necessary because food is needed for every recruitment. Therefore, I'm building just a fisherman's hut right away after because I think this is going to be very, very useful. The remaining workers will then be trained to be archers, and that is pretty much the start of day 2 for you. As we are going to expand now during this day further. So here we need to take care of the enemy. By the way, if the enemy is encroaching your archers, always just keep running. Always just keep running. Eventually they'll either run into your buildings where you can absolutely destroy them, or if everything goes wrong, like in this scenario, you can always summon Dark Knights on their heads, activate auto repair afterwards, and use the Dark Knights for your expansionary sake. Here, it really comes down to the difficulty level of your map. The more difficult your map, the more likely it'll be to run into difficulties. Your swordsman from the beginning would be able to tank that in case you think, now, Icon, you disbanded them yourself. But the point is, you rarely need them. You need them so rarely that I, most of the time, don't really see the benefit of training any, especially since we have the ability to summon ourselves a couple of Dark Knights. And as you see here, these guys are paying off for themselves by clearing out at least 2 encampments. Alright. This day goes on pretty much a lot like the day before. We want to expand on our housing project. Feel free to go also into another direction there. And keep exploring. But mainly the vicinity of your base, and mainly the area where your woodcutters are working. Nothing is more detrimental for your early game than your woodcutters getting ambushed by rebels, because they might not die, but they run away and stop producing, which is pretty much also very, very devastating for your early game economy. Your next big goal now will be to save up enough wood to get a little bit more, get something around 10 houses together. And after that, you want to save up enough resources to get to the tier 2 town hall. This is pretty much your course of action where you want to go. When day 3 dawns, we want to have another stone mine or 2 if possible. It really depends a lot on what you find and how your environment is playing for you. Here, for example, we're now grabbing a big dosage of materials. That'll help us tremendously for the next day. Alright, so you're also working towards getting attacked for the first time. You're well prepared for this scenario if you have 18 soldiers and a bit of wood to spare for a couple of fortifications. You honestly don't need that much more to begin with. Because the first attack is very, very small, and technically, if you build the simple obelisk, you basically already have everything you'd require to fight off the first attack. I don't recommend it though, because the first 30 stone, I personally would not invest like that. So here, day 3 dawns, we're going to go for yet 2 more stone mines, because we are very much able to afford to. Here I'm placing down a storage like here and configure it to only accept stone. This will help our workers tremendously on their work. So there we go. Double clicking now my woodcutters to see I have 5 of them. We definitely can use another one of these. The wonderful thing about lumber mills is they don't cost you any resources. Where are we under attack? Ah, there. They don't cost you any resources. They only cost you population. And that is something that you have an ample supply of early on. And therefore, you know, if the woodcutter ain't cutting it anymore, pun intended, you just can disband them and you're good-o. That's stupid archers running into wrong directions. So as you see, we have our first dead people, and at that point, you still only need the gravedigger if you want your folks to roam around there regularly. But I still would recommend starting from day 3 on to just get it done and have a gravedigger constructed. The wonderful part is you can still unemploy the fella if you don't need him anymore. So now we know the direction from where we're going to be attacked, and that is just excellent. There we go. Now we're going to invest the rest of the population into that. Alright, we're almost done. So now we just need to wait until the construction jobs are done. By the way, one builder's house is early game all you need. You can later down the road expand. Basically, my rule of thumb is builders' houses in larger amounts are then necessary when I'm starting to build my castle proper, and we're going to go for that. Oh, we have a disease in town. If that happens because you made a whoopsie in terms of sanitation, you can easily just shut down one of your lumber mills and build yourself a first aid tent. That is going to go and cure the people. Just make it super high priority so your builders take care of it, and you're good to go. So, once you have hit the threshold for the construction materials for your town hall, don't upgrade immediately. Only upgrade as soon as you have also the resources or the fortifications together. In this scenario, I see that the enemies are attacking from that angle. So we're clearing out that area here. And then we're going to build ourselves a small time for fortification, and that'll sum up this early game tutorial. I didn't touch any research early on. If you have any severe overproductions of wood, you can put them into the research. I would strongly recommend, though, only to put resources in there that exceed your Town Hall 2 upgrade once you're done with all the other things. It's all up to you, of course, how you want to play it. It's not my business. I think there's always many strategies that lead to success and not only one. That's really, I can't stress that out enough. As you see here, there's lots of enemies around town. You usually wouldn't be attacked that hard early on, or you wouldn't be getting that much swarmed early on, but yeah. As you see, we're handling it decently. So the last thing that we require are now 2 towers. We're just going to place them down here and here. Priority-wise, they don't need to be heightened. Clearing out the enemy in the vicinity. And the last thing that we're needing to do now is put in a bit of wall around the towers. Just like that. And this is pretty much all you need to defend yourself from the first few enemies. There we go. We can obviously now expand the line of defense into this direction here and all, but I would honestly not recommend you to at that point, because at that point your main interest is to save up your resources to get that town hall upgrade down as quick as possible. It is that important. So, from this point on, I'll be leaving the realm of optimal gameplay, because I'm just going to speed up time to show you as a proof of concept that this works. Here we are now at the point we desperately need to amp up our food production at the dawn of day 4. Food production next, upgrade your city hall, get the iron production going, and congratulations, you're no longer in the early game. So, let's speed it up to show you that it works. And this method is pretty powerful in my humble opinion. We can do a lot of work with that. You can also make it easier at that point, like I said, by building the simple obelisk. As you see, I have more than enough stone available. We have enough there. And with that laser thing, you totally can kill the enemy. But here you see it in action. So the enemy is pouring towards there. If the enemy is not pouring towards the direction that you want to, you can always recruit yourself a swordsman and use them to navigate, to control the enemy. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. But as you see there, this fight is over before it even started, and we didn't waste too much of a resource in terms of fortifications. And before we knew it, we're at the stop ruining my outro. You'll get swarmed by Dark Knights. Jokes aside, before we knew it, we are now done with all the things. Before day 5 will be, or with the dawn of day 5, you will have a tier 2 town hall. You can optimize it even further than what I did here before. But altogether, I hope this will help you out. Early game is all about wood production and getting enough stone production going to get the upgrade down. And from that point on, start walling in yourself, get those really good troops going, and yeah. I hope it'll help. Drop me your comments down below, leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, consider checking out the description box, which is filled with links that you might want to see, and obviously feel free to support Icon Gaming financially. It'd be my pleasure if you did, and many thanks to all of the supporters out there, and thanks obviously also you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Bye bye.